Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a company whose IPO is coming out very soon, and it is undoubtedly going to be one of India's biggest IPOs. The buzz is around, and yes, the company is Paytm. But hey, this is not any other IPO review video because today we have Groww's co-founder Harsh Jain in conversation with the man himself, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the founder and CEO at Paytm, along with Madhur Deora, the Group CFO at Paytm. They are going to take you through Paytm's growth journey, their business risk, future plans, and what you should be excited as an investor in the company, and many more things. But before we get started, let me tell you this. We have brought this video to you so that you can stay informed as an investor and understand the company better. So you should in no way treat this video as an investment advice or a recommendation. Do your own research before you apply for any IPO or invest in any company. Now with that out of the way, let's dive straight into this interesting conversation with Harsh, Vijay and Madhur. Let's get started.
Thank you so much, Vijay and Madhur. I think it's a unique opportunity to talk to you. IPO के just पहले everyone thinks like it's and I know for a fact like it'll be a lot of very busy time, but good to have you here. Good to chat with you. Let's use the time if we can share some stories from your journey of conceptualizing, thinking, building. और आज जहाँ जिस scale पे Paytm है, I think it's a household name now. I'm sure it must be a special feeling. And then from here on, how do you want to plan to take it in future? So first, Vijay, just want to ask a very basic question. You know, Paytm as a household name is very different for different people, right? Some people associate it with probably with wallet. Some merchants will associate it in a different way. कुछ लोगों के लिए हो सकता है e-commerce app होगी, कुछ लोगों के लिए money app होगी, like investment app. But from your side, how will you define what is Paytm?
Well, first of all, thank you, Harsh. Thank you for having us here. And I'm hoping that, we all are fan of Groww as much we are fan of Paytm. So good to be on your channel also. Okay, so Harsh, I think Paytm is in our mind mission, which we started when we started was for bringing people on a mobile payment journey. And today I can very proudly say that the journey that we championed कि आप mobile number पे payment भेजो और QR code से offline stores में payment करो, because जो सबसे बड़ा digitization और country की growth के लिए we all learned that financial services are important, but financial services industry was totally focused on credit as a business, and that too for a certain set of customers. So it मतलब why करते we reached to a place where अगर लोग digital stroke mobile payment करेंगे, that would generate enough digital footprint for giving opportunity for financial institution to extend credit. And credit is what brings the GDP growth, as we all understand. I mean, I'm sure आपकी audience तो बहुत ही evolved है, तो ये line मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं है कि credit is what creates GDP growth. Okay. एंड क्रेडिट को बढ़ाने के लिए लोगों के पास फुटप्रिंट नहीं था, क्योंकि उनके पास कंप्लायंस ऑफ PNL और पता नहीं कितनी सारी चीजें वो नहीं है. फिर गवर्नमेंट GST लेके आई कि सबके सब GST करेंगे, बट अगेन उसमें भी आप देखो तो रेस्ट्रिक्शन करते करते अब फ्यू करोड़ ऑनवर्ड्स आपका GST ऑब्लिगेशन है. तो सो अगर इंडिया की ग्रोथ को देखें और इंडिया की एस्पिरेशन को देखें, वी ऑल वांट अ वेरी रिच एंड सुपर पावर कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड, बट दैट कैन ओनली हैपन इफ एवरीबडी has an access to credit and formal financial services. That was the hidden meaning when we started Paytm के ऐसा कुछ करेंगे. उसका जो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था वो था कि डिजिटल, यानी कि there is no formal channel of money movement in this country. There is no way a card-led payment business, if you will be able to scale because of the obligation of POS machine and MDRs. So दो चीजें हुई. नंबर वन, हमने बोला कि my thought was that mobile payment will be big because mobile is in hands of everyone. So every hand is a mobile and every pocket is a wallet. तो इस तीनों चीजों को जोड़ देते हैं. So सबसे पहले Paytm ने wallet launch किया, purely because that was the only way we could have created a payment method between consumer and merchant. Because when you issue a wallet, you are the issuer and you are the acquirer, both things. Otherwise, आप जैसा जानते हो कि पेमेंट नेटवर्क्स की ऑब्लिगेशन है कि मास्टर, वीजा, एनपीसीआई इनको यूज करना है। एंड माय थ्योरी वाज कि मोबाइल पे तो ये लोग कभी ग्रो ही नहीं करने वाले। एंड विच बाय द वे एज यू कैन गेस, पहले वी स्टार्टेड 2011-12 में, तो 11, 12 to 15, 16 कुछ भी नहीं हुआ ऐसा जो कि मोबाइल पे था एक्सेप्ट फॉर पेटीएम टू हैव। एंड नाउ वी रीच अ प्लेस वेयर क्यूआर कोड आया। क्यूआर कोड को हमने पॉपुलर किया कि हर दुकान पे बजाय पॉस मशीन के आप क्यूआर कोड लगा सकते हो। लेट द कस्टमर हैव अ कंप्यूटिंग डिवाइस, नॉलेज, पावर ऑफ सो ऑन। देन the whole country started to become a digital, and then फिर यूपीआई आया तो बैंक अकाउंट बन गया, वॉलेट की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी लोगों को। लिंक अ बैंक अकाउंट and you can start making these payment. And then obviously UPI was not successful in early days, so there was a lot of discussion how to be successful. So I suggested that boss, हमारा जो QR है हम उसको एक UPI QR में convert कर देते हैं। Let there be a QR conversation which will give birth to a QR scale revolution that you see today. So journey started from payment, Harsh. Payment was to be looked at as an offline and online channel. And then journey over the period, as soon as the payment sort of is on a journey to scale, as we all now can guess, we grew the next milestone, which was for bank. So we started offering a banking account, saving account. As you know, we have 64 million bank accounts in this country. And now in 2019 onward, we started to work on accessing credit. And credit business model of ours is partnering with financial institutions just in case. And that is how we will continue to grow to the next level, which is the wealth and insurance in next few years. So the journey started for payments. That is why Pay Through Mobile Paytm. And in ultimate purpose of expanding formal financial services to nook and corner is the reason that we started to go towards financial services. So what it means to me today is that Paytm is a mean for accessing formal financial services to the masses of this country. And in fact, हमारा जो mission है वो थोड़ा sounding altruistic but very practical and very doable is that we will bring 500 million Indians to the mainstream of economy. And 500 million is because we wanted to be serious about number of user target. We didn't want to say 10 billion धड़कन और समथिंग, बिकॉज वो थोड़ा मतलब मेटाफरिक हो जाता है। एंड आई वांटेड कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, जो नंबर लिखेंगे ना उसका मतलब है इतने यूजर लाने पड़ेंगे प्लेटफॉर्म पे, ये कोई रैंडम नंबर बिलियन नहीं लिखेंगे। तो आपने हर्ष देखा होगा कि पेटीएम इज द ओनली कंपनी दैट कॉल्स 500 million इंडियंस टू द मेन स्ट्रीम ऑफ इकोनॉमी। बाकी आपका क्या होगा भाई, वो इंडस्ट्री में सबके कहते हैं ना कि जब एलोन मस्क इलेक्ट्रिक कार लाएंगे तो सारे लोग फॉलो करेंगे। तो वो मेरा मानना है कि इंडस्ट्री अपने आप में बड़ी है। देयर विल बी अदर पीपल हु वुड गेट, let's say the movement will come to the smartphone led financial services and everybody will participate. So that being the case, today Paytm for us is a vehicle of change, an opportunity that we can bring access to formal financial services to the 500 million of this country's population and our country's fellow Indians. And I believe that journey started from payment. Today, by offering banking and then extending to the other financial services, we will fulfill that dream in next few years. I believe that users, obviously, पहले payment के 500 million होंगे, फिर banking के 500 million होंगे, फिर किसी और product के होंगे. That is what the journey is.
Great, Vijay. This is very inspiring. I think last decade, India has seen tremendous growth in terms of infra adoption and everything, and Paytm has played a significant role, both as an influencer or as a participant, even a growth driver. So very inspiring. Vijay, काफी questions आते हैं जब Paytm के, and in fact industry में in general इस space में बात करते हैं कि what is the business model, and when going in IPO, people will, retail investors likely to invest. It'll be very interesting and important for people to understand what is the business model today and how will the business models evolve in your vision for Paytm.
The business model of Paytm is straightforward, simple in our mind, that you acquire consumer and merchant, basically businesses, for payment as a use case, and then you give them access to commerce and financial services. The business model is that you bring a user on your platform on a high repeat and a lock-in basis. In other words, that the person is committed to your platform and repeat using is, and sort of network effect where the customer does not require continuous holding up on the platform by virtue of giving money, incentive, cashback, whatever. Bring the customers for payment and then give them power of commerce and power of financial services. So commerce or financial services are the place where we earn our profits from. Payment earns the revenues, which we bring back more or less as an investment, and then we save some money in payments business, which we give to the other two businesses, the commerce and financial services. So Paytm, incidentally, as a model is payment, commerce, financial services, three-stack model. And the reason, Harsh, I want to tell you this three-stack model, even though we are a young startup, but technology industry, like you know, is known for this. जैसे आप अगर internet retail companies, Amazon is very popular, as you can guess, उनके मॉडल देखेंगे तो they don't make money in the retail activity, they make money in logistics fulfilled by Amazon kind of जो product है, या फिर cloud, which is another use case for the platform. In other words, the business that you do has a consumer and business associated on a platform, but your revenues and profitability are disproportionately excellent once there are derivative products that earn more revenue. So हमारे को payment में हम revenue earn करते हैं, we earn revenue from payment, from consumer and merchant, both sides of features, but the commerce and financial services is where we earn profitable contribution margin and profits from that side.
Vijay, this IPO, brings a lot of fresh capital. Kya plans hain? What are the plans for that capital in next 3-5 years?
So Madhur is a perfect answer for that,
yes,
because it's actually meant for sizing of the IPO. मैं हर्ष आपको एक बहुत ही anecdotal चीज बताता हूँ. हम लोगों ने एक IPO size decide करा, और वो इस बेसिस पे करा कि कितना हमें प्राइमरी सेकेंडरी 10% वैल्यूएशन बहुत सारे नंबर से आप जानते हो कि वो एक साइज हुआ. और फिर वो न्यूज धीरे धीरे करके कि हमारे बोर्ड मिनट्स जो भी पब्लिक करे जाते हैं तो पब्लिक हुई. तो मैंने एक हेडलाइन पढ़ी कि इट विल बी द इंडिया लार्जेस्ट IPO. And Harsh, I want to tell you and everybody listening this that at least I, as Vijay Shekhar Sharma, did not know that the number that we have reached will end up making it largest IPO. और आजकल आप देख रहे हो तो it is the largest IPO का जो चर्चा है और जो माहौल है वो एक different level पे है. तो first of all बहुत ही profoundly filled with gratitude feeling होती है कि इंडिया में एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है यंग स्टार्टअप को एक IPO करने की. जैसा आपने बोला हमारी IPO में प्राइमरी सेकेंडरी दोनों है. मधुर आपको ये समझाएंगे कि हम कहाँ वो यूज केस उस मनी का है.
I think the use case for that, Harsh, is very much in sync with the mission. So like Vijay is saying, 500 million Indians. So first of all, you have to grow your consumer base. We are getting there, but we're not quite there yet, right? So, and there's huge opportunity, right? Like a lot of people have seen smartphone revolution and digital payment revolution in India. And they, I think, misunderstand that where in the game are we? A lot of people think कि जो बड़ा जो होना था वो already हो चुका है, right? But the opportunity in front of us is so massive compared to the scale of everything that we see in payments in India, payments in China, payments in other markets, and how transformative technology is, right? Because we believe that we will be innovating in payments for the next 10 years, maybe longer, right? So it will be different types of instruments, it will be different types of devices on the consumer side, on the merchant side, and so on, right? So this whole wave of digital payments is going to be massive. So first is just growing to more users. The second is we think that right now merchants have QR codes. Of course, there are many more merchants in India, right? So right now we have about 20 to 23 million merchants. But merchant in our definition is not somebody who's registered as an SME, for example, right? Merchant is anyone who is accepting a commercial value payment transaction, right? So it could be an auto rickshaw driver. It could be somebody who comes and delivers something to your home. It could be somebody who's doing tuition classes, right? It is any person who has a business of their own where they accept payments, right? So that number in India, there's no good number market study on this, but is many, many, many times larger than where we are today, right? So digital payments has to reach every nook and corner of the country. So we have to drive merchant adoption. But I think there's another opportunity on the back of it, which is to currently large number of it is receiving money using either mobile number or receiving money using QR code. We think that as merchants start seeing more technology, they will want even more technology, right? So they'll want devices, they'll want more technology-led solutions rather than taking only through QR code or mobile number. So actually driving that technology adoption. And thirdly, all of us have to invest more and more and more in technology, right? Technology teams, technology costs, and so on. Because end of the day, it is technology-led solutions, right? It is, that is the center of what we do. So those are three places, right? And very simply put, consumer growth and improving consumer experience, merchant growth and improving merchant experience, and then taking a whole bunch of technology bets.
This is helpful, Madhur. Madhur, एक follow-up question आपके लिए, I think the same domain. how is Paytm valued? Like, what are the parameters that are used, or are the right ways for a retail user to think of it? Right? Today, there's a valuation at which the company is getting listed, but in future also, how do you advise people to look at this company and this space?
Yeah, I think obviously the reason why we get this question is because harder than how Paytm gets valued, or really any technology, especially consumer technology company in the world is valued, is harder than slightly more traditional companies, right? And it's also harder because each company is slightly unique. So it's not like, okay, in US there are banks, right? So there are 20 banks. Each bank is basically doing the same thing. 10 years from now, they will basically look like a version of the same thing. So you can sort of say, okay, this is one bank, there's another bank, so there are 20 of them. So I know it's harder. I think, first of all, I should just clarify misunderstanding that people think in an IPO, the company sets the valuation, right? Or bankers set valuation, or analysts set valuation, right? End of the day, we all know that investors set valuation, right? So what you have to be focused on is, are you getting really high quality investors who will be with you for many, many years? Or will you take the whoever is giving you the highest valuation? Right now, obviously there are rules of going public. You can't choose everything, but to the extent that you can, you choose investors who have seen this work elsewhere, and as a result of it, have a very high conviction on your long-term journey. Right? So people think that, oh, in private market you do it a certain way, and public market is completely different. But actually, it's not. It's actually shades of gray. Right? In private market, of course, like you're a private company, we're a private company, you are a private company even today. You decide, okay, which investor, right? Obviously, they have to want to invest in you, but you often have choices. And same thing in public market, right? So you say, okay, these are the types of investors who get it, and what is the valuation that they're willing to give for your company, and right? And what you solve for is really, really high quality investors, right? Who are willing to invest large checks in the company, right? So that's what we have attempted to do here. And then I know it's a little tricky, but you have to look at the valuation in the context of 2, 5, 10 years from now. How big can this company get, right? If we do 100% of what we have the potential to, or even 80% of what we have the potential to, right? How big does this get? Does this become really large in number of users and merchants? Does it become very large in terms of revenue? Does it become very large as a result in terms of profitability, right? And there are a lot of examples around the world of technology-led companies, especially, which in a relatively short period of time go from making a lot of investments to generating a lot of cash flows, right? So that's what I think investors look at, right? Instead of sort of me pitching this, I just want to answer this question in the form of like, what do investors look at, right? Investors who have seen this a lot. So they look at the potential of how big you can make this as a platform, and then ultimately start generating profits and cash flows.
मधुर से सवाल जरूर पूछना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि this also brings a responsibility on us to understand the expectation of potential shareholders. Okay, what will you do in future? Will you make some money, lot of money, or really lot of money?
Yeah, no, I should have added earlier to your question as well, Harsh, that one of the metrics that we measure, you had said, sort of how do you value the company, how big could it become, and so on. There's a metric called contribution profit, which is our revenues minus our payment gateway cost, all cashbacks, and so on, right? And that number last year was 360 crores, 363 crores. That the number 2 years before that was, by the way, negative 2,000 crores, right? So when we were in this ultra investment phase, the negative 2,000 crores. Last year, that number became 360 crores. This year, this quarter, the June quarter that just got over, only in a single quarter, that number was 245 crores, right? So we are seeing very solid progression with respect to that line item. And that's what before you become EBITDA profitable, you need your business to generate profits, right? Then everything else is investment, which is your people cost, your technology cost, your some brand marketing, and so on, right? But until you hit contribution profitable, then you always wonder, listen, am I selling 100 for 99? Have I really found what do customers or merchants love me for, right? What are they willing to pay for? And are you able to drive that growth without having to spend more on just driving that transaction? So the fact that we hit contribution positive last year just gave us that additional strength, additional conviction that long term, the business have the potential to make a lot of money, right? Because if that revenue keeps growing and the contribution profit is solid, then it can pay for every other investment that we want to make, right? And when you look at timeframes of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the opportunity is so massive in India that if you have hundreds of millions of very highly engaged customers and who love your product, then they would be willing to pay something for it, right? And we're seeing that already, right? And you alluded to that as well earlier, which is that consumers and merchants in India are becoming so comfortable with technology and they're seeing technology solving their problems that they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? Not every customer, not all the time, but as a group, they're willing to pay for really high quality services in the digital world, right? Because it's solving so many physical world problems for them. So yeah, that's what we're seeing. And we think if the platform becomes massive with hundreds of millions of customers and merchants, then there's enough and more monetization opportunities.
Yeah. And so I think from this stage to a matured stage, I think the way people will perceive whether it's the number of users and then the value that is extracted from them, from there to revenue to a profitability. So I think different phases, different point of views, but
Yeah.
I think investors.
But I should just add, now that you're asking it that way, that one of the benchmarks people use, as imperfect as it is that India financial services is that a massive opportunity, right? And what is true is there is, last time I checked, and those numbers I'm sure changed, probably gone up, the private sector financial services company in India have a market cap of north of $500 billion, right? Now, 20 years ago, when many of these companies were smaller and in some cases just getting started or maybe didn't even exist, if you had said to someone that financial services market cap in India would be over $500 billion, I think a lot of people would have had doubts about that, right? I mean, remember, it was only 20 years ago that, you know, if you look at Kotak Bank, HDFC Bank, and maybe Bajaj Finserv, Bandhan Bank, there's so many great companies that have got created in financial services in India, which add up to this market cap of more than, there were no insurance companies, there were no asset management companies, right? All of that came later. So we're talking about banks, insurance companies, asset management companies, et cetera, et cetera. So while India, people think of it as a relatively small market, actually financial services within that has been a real outlier in terms of value creation, right? Because the opportunity is that big. And if you do a good job, and if you do a decent job, you do a good job, you do a very good job, right? Then the upside can be enormous. So I think that is something that investors look at, right? That financial services in India is a massive opportunity.
So I think what Madhur said to that by saying, as a technology company, you probably get user who do the transactions and who bring some dollar value. चाहे आप investment देखो, जैसे आप Groww आप में आप देखते हो कि कितना investor ने invest करा या buy sell किया का volume. User transaction dollar delta. That is how we internally look at it. तो सबसे पहले यूजर मैटर करता है कि आप कितने यूजर लाए और कितना यूजर रिपीट आया, ऑटोमेटिकली आया, कैसे आया, रिपीट अपने आप आया, किस रिपीट फ्रीक्वेंसी पे आया. फिर हम देखते हैं कि कितने ट्रांजैक्शन कर रहा है वो, यानी कि पेमेंट कर रहा है या फिर कुछ और जो बाय और अप्लाई कर रहा है वो कितना कर रहा है. सो यूजर ट्रांजैक्शन, फिर डॉलर वैल्यू उन सब चीज की. सो और फिर डेल्टा इज प्रॉफिट. अब प्रॉफिट के अंदर हर्ष, आई थिंक ये जो मैट्रिक्स हमने बोला है ये हमारे सारे वर्टिकल ऑफ बिजनेस पे काम करता है. सो वी आर लेड बाय पेमेंट्स एंड देन डिफरेंट बिजनेस वर्टिकल्स एंड वी आर एबल टू sort of build a ecosystem of teams which are independently led entrepreneurs who are able to run these businesses. Now, अभी हम जो बात कर रहे हैं कि हाउ डू यू वैल्यू द कंपनी, तो मैं आपके जो दर्शक हैं और जो आपके ऑडियंस है उसको बताना चाहता हूं कि ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग है दुनिया में कि इंडिया के रोड शो में हम लोगों से जो प्रॉफिट वगैरह की बात करी जाती है वो हमें लगता है कि एक बहुत ही मैच्योर स्टेटमेंट है और एक मैच्योर माइलस्टोन है कंपनी के लिए, विच इज इंपॉर्टेंट एंड ऑब्लिगेटरी. मैं तो कहता हूँ लॉन्ग टर्म में पेटीएम को सिर्फ और सिर्फ फ्री कैश फ्लो जनरेशन पे जज होना चाहिए लॉन्ग टर्म में, और वो जरूरी भी है क्योंकि कंपनीज आर मेंट टू जनरेट फ्री कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द एसेट्स दैट दे हैव क्रिएटेड. But at the same point of time, on the journey to that is not necessarily like this. कभी किसी के यूजर कितने हैं, यूजर ग्रोथ कितनी है, रेवेन्यू कितना है, रेवेन्यू ग्रोथ कितनी है, कंट्रीब्यूशन कितना है, कंट्रीब्यूशन ग्रोथ कितनी है, एबिटा कितना है, एबिटा ग्रोथ कितनी है, फिर पैट कितना है, पैट ग्रोथ कितनी है, फिर फ्री कैश कितना है, फ्री कैश ग्रोथ कितनी है. सो दैट is how the number is. And आपने हर्ष बिल्कुल सही बोला कि different stage of journey, different valuation mark. अब लोग ये नहीं कह सकते आप, आई मीन हर एक किसी को तो हर एक तरीके से नहीं नाप सकते ना. अगर मैं अलीगढ़ से पढ़ के आया और यूपी बोर्ड में पढ़ रहा हूँ और आप मेरे से जज कर लो मेरे को इंग्लिश में कितनी अच्छा बोलता हूँ, तो मेरी प्रॉब्लम यह है कि आप मेरे को मान लोगे कि मैं गलत आदमी हूँ और एनफ नहीं हूँ. जबकि आप मेरे से हिंदी की बात पूछ लो, हिंदी में बात कर लो, फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री की बात कर लो, उस सब्जेक्ट की अपने क्वेश्चन में ऐसा पूछो, आई कुड आंसर दिस. सो एग्जैक्टली दिस इज द मेच्योरिटी ऑफ कंपनीज ऑल्सो, प्राइवेट और पब्लिक बोथ मार्केट्स.
Got it. No, this is very helpful, Vijay and Madhur. I think ये बहुत ही important message है audience के लिए भी and budding investors and the even advanced investor also कि you cannot put the same framework for every company. Every company, industry, stage of the company has a different framework and those nuances is what makes difference कि as an investor आप कितना अच्छे से judge कर पाते हो, कितना अच्छा call ले पाते हैं, कितना अच्छा investments बना सकते हैं. So this is very helpful perspective. एक question which I wanted to ask, what are the biggest risks you see in the business right now and next 5 years, 10 years that can, change the plans or the projections or, be up and down, but what are the risks that keeps you bothered?
कि हमारा कोर बिजनेस ही कंज्यूमर और मर्चेंट को पेमेंट के लिए लाना है, और अगर हमारी सेवाएं शुश्रूषाओं से उनको प्रोसेस मतलब अच्छा खुश नहीं हुए तो हमारी सबसे बड़ी रिस्क फैक्टर वही बनेगी. और दूसरी चीज, जैसा मैंने आपको बताया, पेमेंट के बाद हम फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज और कॉमर्स करते हैं, तो उनकी जो डिमांड और एक्सपेक्टेशन है उनको मैच करना ही हमारा रिस्क है. इफ वी कैन सर्व आवर कस्टमर्स वेल इन द स्पेसेस और बिजनेसेस दैट वी हैव डिसाइडेड टू बी इन एंड इन फ्यूचर डिसाइड टू बी, आर वी एबल टू सर्व द कस्टमर एंड आर वी द फर्स्ट चॉइस ऑफ द कस्टमर इज गोइंग टू बी आवर biggest risk opportunity.
I think one question now that Vijay, I've got you here, I'll just use that opportunity and ask you outside an IPO in general questions. See, a lot of our audience in general, entrepreneurship is right now very very people are really brave enough now to try things, and I think there is an ecosystem which is coming up and building up. So any piece of advice or anything that you want to talk कि कैसे आज के यूथ को, यंग लोगों को सोचना चाहिए to be able to build companies for long term?
Thank you, Harsh. First of all, say that if there is any useful thing I've said or I've made one or few team to attempt to build something, it's a truly an honor. And I can say, Harsh, I fundamentally believe that India has this opportunity because globally the local market development of India, meaning hundreds of millions of Indian consumers, have given an opportunity for us entrepreneurs of India to build products that are made for India. I don't think Americans or Western companies at large or Asian companies at large are able to serve India's nuanced needs. Psychologically, culture, language, need of customers, savviness of technology, all these things are far different. And Harsh, I can tell you, एक टाइम हुआ करता था 2009-10 और 2000 में पूछा जाता था, in 98-2000 जब मैं कॉलेज से निकला कि इंडिया, भारत में गूगल फेसबुक क्यों नहीं बन सकती, तो सरप्राइजिंगली मेरा आंसर हुआ करता था गूगल फेसबुक तो नहीं बनेगी लेकिन कोई और कंपनियां जरूर बनेंगी इस देश में, एंड वो तब बनना चालू हो जाएंगी जब हमारे कंट्री का कस्टमर बेस ऐसा हो जाएगा कि उस कस्टमर के लिए प्रोडक्ट बनाएंगे. तो हर्ष, द बिगेस्ट थिंग आई वांट टू टेल एवरी एंटरप्रेन्योर और एवरीबॉडी हु इज अ क्रिएटर और अ बिल्डर, I mean, you can be in a team, you can be in a startup, you can be otherwise a large company. The opportunity of building for India is now, and it is ours to lose if we lose it. In other words, I don't think fundamentally anybody can create new incremental products far as savvy and smartly as India can do. आपने देखा होगा सोशल नेटवर्क्स में दसियों सोशल नेटवर्क हैं इस देश के जो कि बाहर से बने हुए भी हैं और हमारे देश में भी बने हुए हैं, और हमारे देश वाले सोशल नेटवर्क क्या तेजी से ग्रो करे, मतलब हंड्रेड्स ऑफ मिलियन यूजर लेके आए, जबकि वो हॉटली कंटेस्टेड ग्लोबल प्रोडक्ट है. मतलब हर कंट्री में और ग्लोबल कंपनियों ने बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स के डेवलपर लगा रखे हैं, एआई लगा रखा है और स्ट्रीमिंग का वीडियो के ऐप लगा रखे हैं, फोटो वीडियो ऑडियो स्पीड. तब भी जो इंडिया के सोशल नेटवर्क के प्रोडक्ट हैं वो एक लेजिटिमेट चैलेंजर और विनर हैं अपनी अपनी कैटेगरी. तो एग्जैक्टली उसी तरीके से मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि इंडिया के कैटेगरी विनर्स जो इंक्रीमेंटल कैटेगरी बन रही हैं वो इंडिया से आए और इंडिया से आके वो दुनिया में झंडा फहराएंगे. देखिए, पेटीएम की मेरी पर्सनल एस्पिरेशन भी ये है कि इंडिया में कुछ बनाया जाए और जिसको दूसरे कंट्री में ले जाके कहा जाए कि ये हमने मेड इन इंडिया बनाया और ये देखो हमारे देश का प्रोडक्ट है। जब आप सैन फ्रांसिस्को में लैंड करो, लंदन में लैंड करो, सिंगापुर में लैंड करो, हांगकांग में लैंड करो, टोक्यो में लैंड करो, वहां पे वो झंडा फहराए हो गए, ये यार इंडिया की कंपनी है, पता है तुम्हें, हमारे देश की है। यार वो एक बहुत फीलिंग बहुत ही ग्रेटिफाइंग है हर्ष, और वो हमारी जनरेशन को मिली है। आप जानते हो कि हमारी जनरेशन से पहले मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का एरा ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग था, और हम लोगों ने बहुत कुछ अच्छा किया, लेकिन हम इतना बना नहीं पाए कि हम एक्सपोर्ट कर पाते उतने स्केल पे कि इंडिया का है और हाई क्वालिटी का है और सुपीरियर और बेस्ट क्वालिटी का है। लेकिन जो सॉफ्टवेयर है यार, वी आर द फर्स्ट सिटीजन इन द इंटरनेट इकोनॉमी यार। आई मीन वी आर द फर्स्ट सिटीजन इन मोबाइल इकोनॉमी। कैसे किसी को अमेरिका में समझ में भी आएगा कि ऐप पे क्या हो सकता है, क्योंकि उनका तो कंट्री में यूजर भी नहीं है उसका प्राइमरीली, और वहीं से बन के आता है ना सारी दुनिया के लिए सॉफ्टवेयर। बस अब इस बार हमारी बारी है। इस पे एक चीज बोलता हूँ, अगर हमारा कंपटीशन किसी बड़ी अमेरिकन कंपनी के मैनेजमेंट रन टीम से है, तो वो हमारी एंटरप्रेन्योर एनर्जी को कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते। एक ना एक दिन उनको जो डॉलर लोकेशन होते हैं वो कम हो जाएंगे। एक ना एक दिन अमेरिका में बैठ के बनाना प्रोडक्ट इंडिया के लिए, उस कस्टमर के लिए रहूंगा तो मैं जिंदगी में हाई एंड लाइफस्टाइल में सर्व करूंगा थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्री को। वो जो एटीट्यूड है ना, वो टोटल निस्नाबूद हो जाएगा। मतलब टिल द टाइम पीरियड कंपनीज आर एबल टू बिल्ड आउट ऑफ दिस कंट्री, सिटिंग इन दिस कंट्री, will not be able to create a product for this country. You don't drink our water, you don't smell the same air that we do, you will not build a product that is meant for this country. Only the people who do that have the first right to build and win in this market. Harsh, I can tell you, लोग मेरे से पूछते हैं कि यार इतने बड़े बड़े लोगों से लड़ते हो। मैं कहता हूँ यार बड़े बड़े लोगों से लड़ते हैं और उनकी बड़ी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है। हमारा मिशन क्लियर है, हमारा पर्पस क्लियर है, हमारी सारी एनर्जी एक टॉपिक पे लगी हुई है। उनके लिए तो जाने कितनी सारी चीजें हैं और कितने सारे कंट्रियों की अटेंशन है जिनको वो दे पाएंगे नहीं दे पाएंगे। बिल्कुल उसी चीज की तरह से मैं बोलना चाहता हूं कि अगर आप इस देश में कुछ बिल्ड कर रहे हो हमारे देश के लिए, दिस इज द बेस्ट टाइम एंड बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी, एंड इट हैज टेकन टाइम ऑफ हिस्ट्री टू रीच दिस माइलस्टोन। आई मीन सो मेनी थिंग्स टू कम टुगेदर। तो एक ही बात बोलूंगा, अब की बारी हमारी बारी।
This is बहुत ही like good time spent, good I think chatting with you, and wish you all the best for the IPO. I think last 2 decades you have built something, and it's you know an iconic brand. But there I think few more decades where a lot of work needs to be done, a lot of hard work needs to be done, and I think you and the management team, Madhur and everyone knows. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, Harsh, and pleasure talking to you.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.